is cooking the food through pressure. It's not just adding pressure and it kills, some bacteria. That does affect proteins, it does affect fats, and it does affect enzymes in the same way that heat processing does. We would argue that's not necessarily raw food. However, I digress. So the FDA actually says HPP is not enough. You also have to cook, which for sure isn't raw food, right?
Right.
And so there's definitely a focus on raw pet food companies. However, there's I think two main points that the listeners should know. No company's ever been forced to HPP their products. Now, a lot of companies feel this way because what happens is, they send their lawyer to the FDA, and then the lawyer says, I'm looking to have this where I do the best thing for my client, right? And the FDA says, oh, no, you should recommend them to HPP because, it's the safe thing to do, the same thing goes for recalls, and then the lawyer goes back to them and they say, this is what you have to do. So they're assuming they have to do that. No one's ever been forced to HPP, and no one's ever been forced to recall. A lot of people don't know this, but recalls are all voluntary.
And isn't it true that there are HPP products that have had HPP applied that have been recalled?
Yes, and that's quite frankly just because it's not a viable way of protecting food. So if people are worried about their house or their refrigerator being contaminated with salmonella, it already is.
Yeah.
So salmonella is ubiquitous. It's all around your house, and that's nothing to be scared of. So what happens is HPP technology was developed to actually be done in the final packaging and then not opened again. However, you have to regrind. So HPP product looks like it's been cooked. There's a film on it because it essentially is cooked through pressure. And so what's happening now in the industry is they actually open up they HPP it in plastic, they open up the bag, and then they regrind it. So what you're doing there is you're killing off the native bacteria and making that into a sterile environment, and then you're re-exposing it to potential pathogens. So therefore, I would actually argue that high-pressure pasteurization is actually more dangerous than it is safe. So for instance, if you were to say, well, what about immunocompromised animals? I would argue it's more dangerous. And so the one thing I'll say about Answers Pet Food is Answers Pet Food does not HPP their food, and we won't ever HPP our food. And the reason why is because it's not legally enforceable. So essentially there's the law and there's a compliance policy, and those two things are different. And in this case, the compliance policy is not legally enforceable. And, one of the nice things about the people I work for, they happen to be the most stubborn people on earth when it comes to doing the right thing. And so if they'll dig their heels in, and we did that. And so we've had a different experience with the regulatory bodies because we stand up for ourselves and we know the science about how bacteria works. We know that it's not about is salmonella in your food. It's can that salmonella grow. That's the only thing that matters in terms of if it can make you sick. And the nice thing about fermentation is we've done, competition studies, and we know it works. We know that the bacteria we add inhibit the growth of those pathogenic bacteria.
So basically, you guys, through the fermentation process, you're adding beneficial bacteria, the good guys. And because they're growing so strongly, they're inhibiting the growth of the bad guys. Yes, simply?
Yes. There's a finite amount of room for bacteria in food. And so we add it, we inoculate the food with good bacteria. We put that food in an environment where that bacteria can grow, and then it fills up with that good bacteria. And we've seen that. We've done a test on food and measured the pathogens and then left the food out for 12 hours, which is kind of ironic because that's, the regulatory authorities would say that that's mishandling the food,
right,
to leave it out for that long. And we saw the pathogenic bacteria be reduced by like 3/4. And so we know it works, and people have been using fermentation as a food safety method since people have been people. So
Well, and it's interesting because your goat milk, which I use for my dogs every single day, because I love the fact that I'm getting natural probiotics and natural digestive enzymes, and I'm getting all that taurine for all my dogs with all their little heart issues. Oh man, that's another whole topic we could go into and aren't going to have time for. But so when I thaw it out in the refrigerator and I shake it up and pour it on the food, it's still kind of separated a little bit. You know, there's like this liquid part, and then there's these little chunky parts, and I'm like, I just don't like this. And so you guys had said to me, hey, you could sit that carton of milk on your counter, and it's just going to ferment more and more, and literally could leave it there indefinitely. So I said, all right, well, I'm going to try this, and I took my half gallon of milk, and in our house, that's, a week, maybe, and I sat it out on the counter, and I just left it on the counter all week, and it just kept getting thicker and richer, and I was just like, man, now I love this product. So I sit it out and I let it just keep fermenting and get nice and rich, and then when I put it in the bowl, it's like, oh, look at that. That is just like so amazing. And I was resistant to this for so long because I hate the taste of goat and lamb. I hate the smell of goat and lamb. I mean, it just turns my stomach. And I said, I am not going to feed this to my dogs because I do not want my dogs to smell like goat or lamb. I got to tell you, the milk does not smell, and it doesn't make my dogs smell. So anybody who needs to get over that, get over it, because it's not an issue.
Yeah,
versus tripe. Tripe's an issue.
Yes, that's true. I typically tell people that, because we get a lot of calls on that. Well, the milk is smooth sometimes. It's full of curds. And that if you have a lot of curds in your product, that's a bonus round product, because that's just a sign that the two buttermilk cultures that we add to ferment that milk are continuing to pre-digest the lactose sugars. So, we ferment our kefir at 80 degrees for 24 hours, and the kefir is virtually lactose-free for that reason. So the crazy thing is there are some residual lactose sugars in the goat's milk, but those are reduced even more. So when you got to the end of that week, you were probably looking at virtually no lactose sugars. Now, I will also mention, too, that sugar in milk reacts differently in the body than if you were, eating a cupcake or something like that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Totally different.
I would say to people, don't be afraid on that end. But, yeah, it's I once had someone tell me that they had a milk, and they said they opened it, and it was just water with like a golf ball sized piece of cheese in the middle, and I was like, that's like the best one ever. You definitely have to feed that. So
yeah. So just sit it on the counter. So quickly, the difference between so people will tell me, oh well, I go get goat milk kefir for people at the grocery store, but it's been it's cultured goat milk. Raw goat milk is not allowed to be, or raw cow milk, whatever, is not allowed to be sold for people. So how has that human product been treated that would be different? Because I know that nutritionally it's not near as good as the raw milk. So how has that been treated and then made into a cultured goat milk in the store for people? How does that differ?
Well, they're just taking pasteurized milk, which I don't advocate any mammal drinking pasteurized milk or pasteurized cheese products. So they're just taking pasteurized milk, which has been heated to a temperature that will kill any pathogenic bacteria. The problem is it will also kill off all the native good bacteria. It will also denature the vitamin content. It will also denature and make useless all the native enzymes. So I think people kind of get stuck on this is for humans, so it must be good enough. But that's like our food. I think human grade is not good enough, right? We need better than human grade products. And when it comes to our milk, here's a good example that will show you the difference. That product that you're buying has those 12 kefir, bacteria and yeast. It's a colony. Kefir is a colony of yeast and bacteria. So they have those that 12 bacteria set. You might be like, wow, that's great, 12 different probiotics. Our goat's milk has over 200 different species of probiotics even before we ferment it. So you're talking about over 202 different species in our milk, and then over 212 in our kefir in terms of the yeast and bacteria. And then on top of that, milk is the most complete and balanced food on earth. It is. We would love to formulate something as good as milk, but we just haven't been able to do that as humans. And it's a very delicate system. So as soon as you go above, 102, 105 degrees, you start to ruin that system. And that's why pasteurized dairy is actually hard to digest, where raw, especially fermented dairy, because we're pre-digesting it, is the easiest food to digest on the planet.
Yep. And, I use the raw goat milk from you guys very commonly for my animals that are having digestive issues, that have a lot of allergy issues. And sometimes we do a cleanse where that's the only thing they get to eat for a week or two, and we've seen just huge differences. So, Billy, if somebody wanted to reach out to you or to Answers, what's the best way?
Well, we have an 800 number on our packaging. I wish I had it in front of me because I don't.
That's okay. And website?
I have the website is answerspetfood.com, and actually the 800 number is 800-431-8480, and also they can reach out to us at info@answerspetfood.com.
Which is amazing. Billy, I can't believe this just flew by. I could ask you 100 more questions, so I might have to have you come back again. Thank you so much for being on the show. This has been Dr. Judy Morgan's Naturally Healthy Pets. Until next week, go play with your pets. See you soon.
That's all for today. Find more answers to your questions next time on Dr. Judy Morgan's Naturally Healthy Pets every Monday and Tuesday at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. Eastern Time by going to DreamVision7Radio.com. Join holistic veterinarian Dr. Judy to discover healthy options for raising your pets in a more holistic manner. Visit drjudymorgan.com to learn more.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.